Hello and welcome to my podcast, Used to Be's Do Count, with me, Dean James. You're listening to episode number 1 of season 2. Yes, that's right guys, we've got seasons. And season 2 episode number 1 is called I Used to Be a Tradie. In this episode, I speak with Daniel Dow about his transition from being a floor layer, a very honest and reliable living, to being a Hollywood stunt performer.
Big motorbike, ramp, jump, and crash the bike, like come off the bike in the air and then land on the tarmac. But during the rehearsals of that, the motorbike landed on my arm and fractured my arm during the rehearsal.
Daniel tells me all about the hard work and training that he had to put in on his evenings and weekends in order to become a stuntman.
So I'd go home from work on a Monday night, I'd be playing football, training, and then on a Tuesday I would go fencing, like sword fighting and stuff like that. Then I'd be doing kickboxing, training for my swimming test, because you have to train for certain things to get qualified. At weekends, I'd do gymnastics every Sunday, and Thursday nights as well, did the men's class, gymnastics class, and then I'd play football Saturday and Sunday.
And he tells me all about why he even wanted to become a stuntman.
He was my neighbour, but he was more than my neighbour. He was more like a big brother. We did have a really strong relationship, and he was like a brother to me growing up, and he would always help me out, like, you know, gives me opportunities that not anyone else probably got.
Thank you for listening. Now let's dive into the episode. Okay, Daniel Dow, thank you so much for joining Used to Be's Do Count. Thank you so much for joining my podcast. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. For anyone who doesn't know you, you are Daniel Dow. You are a Hollywood stunt performer.
Yeah, I suppose you could call me Hollywood stunt performer. Yeah, I work on Hollywood films and yeah.
Absolutely. And you're my old mucker from way back in the day. I mean, way back when we used to be my best friend growing up, playing primary school with something like that. And as the way we have it, you grow up, you go, you know, different schools, colleges, whatever, but you've always been sort of there on the side. And social media is great for keeping in touch, and I've been super proud of what you've achieved. However, you've not always been a stunt performer. And as you know, this is Used to Be's Do Count.
Yeah.
So tell everyone what you used to be.
Okay. So, well, I've come from a trade background, and I suppose you could say I was a floor layer. So I did flooring for a good, I'd say just under 10 years, but not full time 10 years. Cause obviously, like you just mentioned, getting into stunt work and stuff like that, kind of fell into that trap of mixing the two together towards the end of it.
Yeah. On the tools.
Yeah, on the tools.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it. But to be honest with you, I don't know whether I want to do a podcast episode about tiling and engineering words.
Yeah.
So we're going
to be too popular.
We're going to focus a lot on what you're doing as a stunt performer. But in order to understand how you get into the stunt world and how that even happened, we do want to go back and understand, first of all, you sort of left school and college. And how did you get into flooring? How did you get into that trade?
It's funny. My dad, growing up, he always used to have carpet shops. So my dad always did it. So it was easy for me to fall into that trap of, I want to do what my dad does.
Yeah.
So I kind of followed in his footsteps in a sense. It's just like, it was easy to me. So my dad had connections with people. And your dad was my football manager, wasn't he, at Brimstone Rovers?
He was. Yeah. So you were football as well.
And we had like Adam Syra in our side, for instance, and his dad was a floor layer. And our circle of friends, a lot of their parents, like dads, was like in the flooring industry. So it was easy for me to just fall into that trap of like flooring.
My dad was a plumber.
Yeah.
And he was a football manager.
Yeah.
Your dad was a floor layer. We had Adam Syra, who was a floor layer, and everyone was into football.
Yeah.
My dad, obviously, being a football manager, was like, Dean, you've got to come and play for the team. And I was more interested in climbing trees and doing the pirouettes. So as much as disappointment, I ended up going into dance. But you were once really into football. You were very good at it, actually, and you took to it really well. I remember that clearly. So you sort of went into floor laying as a trade, but the football carried on.
Yeah, football carried on for me. I still love football now, but my love of football now has gone into watching my kids play football. I still play myself, but it's just for fun, really.
Yeah.
But I did make money out of doing it at one stage. I was at Southend United. So to get into my YTS with Southend United, I had to get into a college. And because Harry Kane went to Cheapford Sixth Form, David Beckham went to Cheapford Sixth Form.
Yeah.
On the premises of the football side of it, my grades probably weren't quite good enough. But on the basis of my football, the head teacher there was pretty keen to enroll me in college there. So I ended up going through college there purely on the football basis, and Southend United saying that they were going to sign me. And then 2 weeks prior to getting my YTS at Southend United, me and 5 other players were released. So it's a bit disheartening at the time. So I carried on doing the college. And I played semi-pro football up until my early 20s. So I still made like a little bit of pocket money every week to go out with. So,
I mean, it's interesting. It's a really different world. Football is a difficult world as well. And there's so many talented players that get dropped, really cutthroat.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting point to say that you went to a school that 2 of the most famous and most successful players in this area went to. Nevin Drive was very, very well known because, first of all, David Beckham, and obviously now Harry Kane.
Yeah.
It could have been, could have been the third.
You
never know.
Could have, should have, would have.
It could have taken that turn.
Yeah.
They weren't good enough. It's just, you have to be in the right place at the right time sometimes. People go with other people over you sometimes, not necessarily just down to talent. It's difficult, but semi-pro happened and you were getting a bit of pocket money.
Yeah. It was just paying for our weekends. Like you'd get it was back in the day where you'd get a little brown envelope after the game, and you get 100 quid or whatever. And it'd just pay for your Saturday night out with the boys. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
You're not gonna earn a living off of that sort of money.
No.
But,
and so your living was falling.
Yeah.
And then what was going on with the stunt stuff at that time?
So it's funny, we just touched on sort of right place, right time. And then when I was growing up, as well, because obviously we used to hang around when we were younger, didn't we? Yeah. After school and stuff like that. And my neighbour growing up was Gladiator TV champion. Wasn't he? Old
champions as well. Did you go back twice and win it? So the Gladiators is back, which excites me. I love that show so much.
Great.
It's such a great show. The original iteration of it.
Yeah.
Mark
Mottram.
Yeah. So tell me about Mark Mottram.
So Mark was kind of like, he was my neighbour. It's funny. He was my neighbour growing up, but he was more than my neighbour. He was more like a big brother who lived next door to my mum and dad. And growing up, he's probably 10, 15 years older than me. When he was doing Gladiators, he was training to be a stuntman. So he'd always be doing really cool, fun stuff. Like he'd be like, I'm going high diving at Crystal Palace. Do you want to come and I was too young at the time. He'd say, do you want to come and watch? Like we're going to do diving and stuff like that. You'll see all the other divers and that. I used to be, yeah, cool. Like, I'll come and watch. And then got into gymnastics. I got into from a young age through Mark. He did a lot of his gladiator training in the gymnastics club that we went to. Yeah. So like, like rings, like the hang tough. So like where I was only young, we'd be hanging off of him in the gym, trying to pull him off the rings and stuff like that. And then me and Dean would go on a coach, wouldn't we? Up to Birmingham.
That's right. It was Birmingham NEC. Now it's Sheffield Arena. But originally it was Birmingham NEC.
And we'd go and watch Mark in the live shows, wouldn't we? And
I remember the training that he was doing, and I was around your house quite a lot. Yeah. We hung out, like you said, after school. In his garden, he tried to create as much of the apparatus as possible.
Do you remember the story of that? So come home to take my mountain bike out one evening, like to go out on our bikes. And Mark was like, I need to get you a new bike. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you remember they did the cycling thing? Yeah. So he basically chopped up my mountain bike in the garden and had it welded to a frame so he could practice in his garden. The cycling. No, they haven't done it anymore. But it was like, a lot of people used to get stuck on it. But being Mark, this is the kind of guy he was. If you wanted to do something, he was that well driven. And that's kind of what I ended up looking up to in the end. If he wanted to do something, he was driven in that way where, he's nicked my bike out of the garden and chopped it up, but he's made it into that thing that he needs to be good at.
Absolutely.
Gladiators,
Yeah, the focus, the commitment, the discipline. He had all of that. And he was sort of pointing that into the direction of learning stunts and going into stunts. And you were around that for a very young age.
Yeah, I grew up watching him do everything down to literally like property developing his houses, helping out after school and weekends and stuff like that.
Super inspiring.
It's led me into doing property developing myself and learning stuff from such a young age. From him.
And he had something about him he was only a youngster himself really, but he had something about him.
Yeah. I think it was his early 20s when he bought the house next door to my mum and dad.
Yeah. So, which is no age at all really. When you think about what he achieved at a young age. But he was always had that mentoring in him. He had that mentorship. he sort of took you under his wing.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
When you started to show more interest, he was, trying to.
Yeah, he's always trying to drive me that way. But he knew I had a passion for football and stuff like that at the time.
Yeah.
But then, as I got a bit older and he realised that he thought I could do the same sort of stuff, seeing what I'd done when he was training, going trampoline and going gymnastics.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what, you could do this. Like you could get into this industry.
I always remember you a very physically active kid, but you were always really good at everything that you tried.
It's that annoying person.
Like, I remember in Mark started and he was like, just try and do a jump with forward roll. And it was like, took me like 5 to 10 goes to even get it. And first time you were like off the bat. I always remember that you had that in you. So with things like gymnastics and the use of your body and throwing myself into that kind of thing, you had that as a youngster.
Yeah.
You had that fearlessness, but you also were able to take command of your body, which I'm guessing is this is about, really.
Yeah, definitely.
That happened at a young age. You were still kind of interested in football. You were still floor laying.
Yeah.
As you were floor laying sort of into your young adulthood.
Yeah.
How was the stunt stuff happening there? Was that still sort of going on?
Kind of transitioned into the sense that I didn't really know much about the film industry and in the background of film industry at this point, up until sort of like when I got released from Southend United, up until my early 20s, I still wanted to pursue my football career. But then I got, so I was doing floor laying and, I was earning half decent money doing floor laying and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. But I always, in the back of my head, wanted that. I'm sure like other tradesmen can relate to this as well. It's like you do something and you think like, could I, or should I have done this or should I have had a go at that? In the back of your mind, I think like, and I always wanted to do that a little bit more. I was like, I want that step up to something better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you always sort of strive.
Yeah, not that, I love doing what I was doing at the time, but I just wanted that.
There's no shame in it. I think, it is fulfilling in a certain way. It's a very reliable job, and there's no shame in it at all. But you just had an ambition in you. You had something in you that wanted to push a little bit further. What was your first stunt job? Actual paid stunt?
Yeah, so Mark was working on a TV show out in Ireland. I think it was one of his first stunt coordinating jobs. So progression in the stunt industry is you'll start off as a stunt performer and then you kind of, once you're well established and you've had a really good career, you start sort of moving into stunt coordination. But when you're at that point, you're working alongside the director and you're choosing who you want in your team to do what on the movies. So the stunt coordinator will hire stunt guys to perform stunts or double actors, anything. You'll get rigging team in to do like wire work and stuff like that for explosions and flying and all that sort of jazz. So he gave me the opportunity to go out to Ireland. It's called Camelot, TV show. And it was a bit of a hacking and slashing kind of Game of Thrones-y style, medieval battle zone kind of TV show. And I kind of just fell in love with that side of. When I was doing it, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
I mean, you must have been exposed to a pretty cool environment that most people don't get access to. How old were you at the time?
1920, something like that, when I first did that job.
Okay, nice. I'm from a performance background, as you know. And the general sort of scheme of what you do is you train, go to schools, colleges, and through graduation, you then find an agent and then they start finding you work. How was your pathway into stunt work? Because you were sort of training on the peripheries, right? It's not like you went to a stunt school. No. You were doing it in your spare time.
Yeah. So I'd go home from work and on a Monday night, I'd be playing football. But that for me, that was just like training. Do you know what I mean? And then on a Tuesday, I would go fencing, like sword fighting and stuff like that. Then I'd be doing kickboxing. Another night, I'd be going to I was training for my swimming test at the time because you have to train for certain things to get qualified. So I was doing my swim test training and stuff like that. And then at weekends, I'd do gymnastics every Sunday and Thursday nights as well. Did the men's class, gymnastics class, Sundays. And then I'd play football Saturday and Sunday. So, growing up every night of the week and seven days a week, we were doing some sport.
It was full on. And you were doing it in your spare time because you were passionate about doing it.
Yeah.
And you were really working towards getting the skills that you needed to go into stunt work. Like you said, the swimming qualifications, the gymnastic stuff. Again, the use and command of your body in all of these different environments is kind of what you need to do that job. I went to dance college. 9 to 5 dancing, in the evenings rehearsing. That's kind of what you did. But you had to supplement your training outside of your normal job.
Yeah, because you don't get paid to train, It's like if you're an electrician, you have to go to college in the evening to get your qualifications, because at the end of the day, if you take a day off work to go to college, you're self-employed, you don't get paid for having that day off. So generally, a lot of trades that want to better their profession will do evening colleges and stuff like that. So it worked on the same premises of, keeping fit and doing the sun side of the training.
Absolutely. But it was needed. The commitment was needed. It was needed. There's a part of this that I wanted to draw attention to, that you had this neighbour, Mark, who took you under his wing and mentored you almost, and also gave you your first opportunity.
Yeah.
But it wasn't handed to you on the table. You had to work for it. You had to train for it. And you were doing all of that in your spare time. So he saw the passion, he saw the dedication, he saw the commitment. And he said, actually, I'm on this TV show at the moment. Come over and give it a go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And that's kind of how it all fell into place, really. So I do owe Mark a lot, because, through life, he's been a good mentor, and he's kind of put me in a place. Like you say, you've got to have the talent. You can't just get given a role to do something and then it's, like you say, it's on a plate and therefore that's it. You've got to still be good enough to carry on that profession. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I owe everything to him, in the sense that he put me in that position and he gave me those opportunities. And that's why I do the job now, because without him, I wouldn't probably even, I'd know it existed, but I wouldn't have even thought of going into that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. A big shout out to Mark. I think mentorship is what makes the world go round. It's what makes people better people. Your life
in life,
very
need
different.
Those people, It's like teachers at school that you bond with, and they see something in you and they take it. But it's probably harder these days now that you get that with certain teachers. But I know my son's got, I've got 3 boys, and one of my boys has got a very good relationship with his PE teacher, and he likes him a lot and he helps him more. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I know teachers shouldn't have favourites, but they see stuff in the kids and they help drive them into what they're doing.
You're going to navigate towards other humans that you see passion, especially as a teacher.
But it definitely helps to have that in your life. And obviously not everybody has that opportunity in their life, or that person in their life. So
you need to be lucky, and there is an element of luck.
And that is an element of luck in knowing the right person or being in the right place at the right time. And I'm a strong believer in fate and things happening for a reason, and that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Or right place, right time. And like you say, the big element of that is luck. You've got to have the talent to carry it on. Otherwise, if you're not good at what you do, you're not going to last 5 minutes in any industry.
Spot on, not in any industry at all. Luck will only take you so far. Yeah. Right place, right time, and luck has an element, and there is an element of fate, which I believe in as well. I'm with you there. But your talent, your dedication for the industry and for what you do has taken you this far and helped you kind of bag those jobs and keep those jobs. I mean, you're one of the regular stuntmen on some of the biggest Hollywood movies there are. So how did we get from a little show in Ireland to Hollywood? Take me on that kind of journey.
So it's, again, it's like Mark's journey as well, because, my early 20s, getting these little jobs going to do, it was almost like background stunts, we're just running through fields with swords and we're going into fight routines in the background, stuff like that, because you're young and hungry for it. And then all of a sudden, Mark's career just went rocketed, and he started getting some big films. I'm talking massive films, Marvel movies, Disney movies. And I'd started to do that journey where I was getting jobs with him, working on films with him. And I was working, so I was still doing floor laying, because until you establish yourself in any industry, it's like you're related to it from when you did your dancing. To get a name for yourself, you've got to be in these positions and prove yourself when you're on set, or get given an opportunity to have a fight or double an actor. You've got to perform. And at the end of the day, Mark's career went crazy, and then I got given better opportunities to do bigger stuff. And that's kind of how it all fell into place, really. It's nice. Mark's career going really well
on a trajectory, and had a knock-on effect to his protege, if you like.
Would you
say that?
Yeah, 100%. Because we did have a really strong relationship, and he was like a brother to me growing up, and he would always help me out, gives me opportunities that not anyone else probably got, or would have to do, work harder to get the opportunity to get there.
So some of the movies you've been in, Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch. 2 of the Star Wars movies, Star Wars Rogue One, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Enter Tomorrow, Tom Cruise.
Yep.
You've been in Red 2 with Bruce Willis. Into the Woods. You've also been on some music sets with Coldplay.
Yep. Yeah.
You've done Sonic.
Yeah. Jim Carrey as well. Legend. Yeah.
I want to hear all the stories.
Yeah.
More recently, the man of the moment, Aaron Taylor Johnson, you were on Craven the Hunter.
Right. Yeah.
So we're talking big movies. November Rain, Pierce Brosnan. We're talking big movies here. We're talking Hollywood movies. Where to begin and even starting to sort of understand your experience with those movies. So a lot of those movies are shot here in the UK or abroad.
Both. So it's a bit of a mixture, really. Like when you just said November Man, the Pierce Brosnan movie I did, that was my first big core movie, in a sense where I got to double the lead actor in that movie, and it was out in Serbia. And it come at a time I'd split up from my ex, and Mark was going away for 3 months, and he was like, "Look, I've got this film." I said, it'd be good for me to get out the headspace I was in. Yeah. You know, and so I got that opportunity, and it kind of all worked out, and I ended up literally just flying out to Serbia, and we was out there for 3 months shooting that.
Where else was
it was in the city centre.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So we stayed at the Hyatt. Is it a Hyatt hotel there?
Yeah.
Right in the city centre. It's like really cool, buzzing little city.
Yeah, I've been there as well. Yeah.
It was that was an amazing experience, and I learned a hell of a lot on that movie, because that was before that movie I'd been going in and out of films like, oh, we just need you to come and do a few days here, a few days there. But that was we call it the core team, like stunts. So if you're on the core team, you'll be on that film from like prep to filming to when it ends. Yeah. So like you're on that movie for full journey. So that's the hardest circle to get into when you're in the industry, is to get into that core team world.
So if I understand, you have these stunt performers, background performers, popping in and out, being booked for a day here, a day of shooting, but a core stunt team will be there from beginning to end.
Exactly,
of the shooting.
And the prep as well, which is probably the most fun part, because you're concepting ideas. Yeah. Like, like if you were in your dancing world, you would be making up a dance choreography. Yeah. It's the same for us with the choreography, We're concepting ideas and we'll shoot it. Yeah. We'll put previews together and then put it to the director. They'll say, oh yeah, I love it, I hate it, or tweak this, tweak that. And that's how we take their scripts, and our coordinators come up with the ideas of basically what they want the action to be.
And you're part of that core creative process, which is really exciting. So you did that on November Man.
Yeah.
And that was your first experience of being on this whole team.
Yeah, and doubling a lead actor, movie all the way through.
All the way
through. Bracey, his name was. He was an actor. He's an actor now, but she was young, and like we'd go out like drinking together in the evenings and stuff like that. So I had that whole experience, and it was just a good timing for me. So I was single at the time, so I had that freedom to embrace it,
Something that we as consumers that watch movies don't really understand the ins and outs of the making of the movie. So when you say that you're doubling a lead actor, explain to anyone that doesn't know what that means.
So someone that's sort of lead role on a movie. So, it could be like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, for instance. He was the lead actor in that movie.
And he would have had a stunt double.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey in Sonic. Like, it's like whoever is that person taking the lead in that movie, really.
Yeah, so you were the stunt double for, what was his name again?
Luke Bracey.
Yeah. And so
like anything, it could be like, 'cause he didn't ride motorcycles, I did. So like anytime he was on a motorbike, it was me with the crash going on. Like anything like getting shot or falling down staircases, doing fight scenes, all that jazz. Whenever it's something that the actor's not comfortable in doing or can't make look as cool as you can, then that's when they use us.
Nice. Your education almost is kind of on the job with this as well. So how did you feel being in that environment?
All the guys that train for the UK stunt register, there's an element of you to getting the qualifications to get on there, which is amazing. And like anyone that does it, it's like hats off to them to get on there, because just for the boys that do that training side of it, it's expensive. And like you say, you have to do it in your own time.
And do you need to be on that register in order to get onto a movie set?
Yeah, well, on the UK stunt register, you have to do your training and qualifications for it.
Yeah.
But like you said, I kind of got grandfathered into the stunt register via Mark. So I started doing all my training and stuff like that. But I think I was 2 disciplines off of finishing it. And then Mark's career just went, and I was on all the movies with him. So I never ended up having to finish my qualifications. So I really did get taken under a wing and grandfathered into the industry.
And then I guess, like my industry and the experience that I've had, you do see the same people over and over again. And especially when you turn up to a job and you prove yourself, they want you back on another job. So this work then started snowballing, right?
Yeah.
From November Man. So talk about some of your other experiences on Hollywood movie sets. What was it like to be on Doctor Strange? I mean, we're talking big budget, Disney, Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney owned. We're talking about Sonic, again, big budget.
Yeah.
What was it like on Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange was cool because I had, it was one of my first big talking parts. Do you know what? It wasn't lots of lines at all. It's actually just like I had to just say to Benedict Cumberbatch in the alleyway, your watch. And then he'd be like, it was when his hands were all damaged and he's trying to get himself fixed up.
Okay.
And, he caught me down the alleyway, mugging him, in Catman. I think it was in Kathmandu. It's like, East End boy and Kathmandu mugging. It's like,
we get around.
Yeah, we get around. No, we get around.
But the thing is with that is that a lot of stunt performers might not actually get lines. The movies a lot, but even to get a line is quite a big.
Oh yeah, massive. Well. It's just nice because a lot of the time stunt performers are the hidden sort of talent. So they don't really get the recognition that they deserve sometimes because they're making other people look cool. So every now and again you get the opportunity to play a character or to say something on the TV or, on the big screen. It's just nice because you get a little bit of face time. Do you know what I mean? And then
I think it's a really interesting point, and I don't know, you can maybe tell me because I'm not sure. We watch the Oscars and we watch the BAFTAs and we watch some of these award shows that really celebrate everyone in the film industry, but we never really see recognition for stunt performers who are such a huge part of the movie industry.
And it is.
Does that change you? There's
talks at the moment, isn't there, of the Oscars bringing out stunts, and they've been protesting against it for a while now.
Yeah.
And I really do feel that it's got to be deserved for Oscars massively because,
you're talking about big action movies like Doctor Strange. You're talking about action movies like November.
Yeah, James Bond.
The action
makes a movie, right? And there's not enough recognition in my eyes. There should be Oscar categories for it, 1,000,000%, because you can dress someone in a movie and the dress looks beautiful and the costume is great and you can get an Oscar for that. But you can throw yourself off a building, set yourself on fire for a movie, you know what I mean? Crash cars, crash motorbikes, do fights and not get, any recognition from the Oscars for it. And it really does deserve.
Of course, that's really what sells the movie.
Yeah.
If you go
it's such a massive part of films, and it always has been from back, even back in the day when you go back to sort of cowboy Western movies and all the old school stunts of them, falling out of windows and getting bullet hits and falling off horses.
Yeah.
There's been going for years and it's been such an integral part of the movie world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really what draws in the audience. It's so important. So talk to me about some of the stunts that you have done.
Involving in crashing motorcycles.
Yeah.
I doubled Woody Harrelson on Now You See Me Too.
Oh, nice.
That was cool.
That really.
Yeah. So he's
Woody Harrelson, what's he like?
So it's really cool. He's very cool. He's very laid back. He's kind of.
He strikes me as someone like that.
Yeah.
Kind of what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
I really like him. I like his vibe.
No, he was cool. He was really cool with me.
Yeah. You're sort of, when you're doubling for a star like that, you're not only meeting them as a person, but you're also seeing their process.
Yes.
Everyone has their different processes.
Yeah. He's been around for donkeys. He's a well-established actor. And he was just super cool. You do get the odd actor that can be a bit hard or awkward. And the trouble is, in the film industry, the actors get treated like royalty. When they're on set, they are very well looked after. And it's can I get you anything? And they're so pampered, let's just say. Some of
loads of runners around and going after them. It can go to their heads.
Yeah, and you see it a lot. Whereas some people just say chill, nice and down to earth, and you get others that can be a little bit more. Let's just say hard work,
more thievery.
Yes.
Do you want to name drop any of the divas that don't want to get you into trouble?
I'll name drop one person that I worked with on Red 2. You mentioned him earlier. It's Bruce Willis.
Whoa. Bruce Willis? Are you serious? Are you as excited as I am to hear Daniel's anecdote about his time on set with Bruce Willis? Wow. I mean, let me tell you, there's also some really cool anecdotes coming up that involve other big Hollywood stars. And I'm just interrupting to say that if you like this episode, please make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. It really does help us keep doing what we're doing. And while you're there, why not give us a star rating while you're at it? That's the only thing that I'm going to ask of you. Other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the episode. Let's dive straight back in.
Oh, yeah.
Only because he takes me hostage. He's got me around the neck in a scene and I get shot in the head and I just have to do like a sort of face slam onto the ground. But we rehearsed the scene to do that bit of the movie. You know, it's probably 10 seconds of the film.
Yeah.
But we rehearsed that scene for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then we shot it over a period of a week. And it's probably like, I don't know, 30 seconds in the movie.
Yeah.
But that's the process of film world.
People don't realise what filmmaking is. I mean, for any film to actually be released into cinemas is like crazy because the planning, you know, that 10 seconds can probably take 3 months planning and maybe a week to film for like 10-second footage.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and millions of pounds as well. Millions and millions of pounds.
Time is money, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But
so it was about a 10-second clip.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis has got you by the neck with a gun.
Yeah, that's it.
And shoot. Okay.
Yeah, and basically...
He had a lot of interaction with him.
Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, being strangled by him for a few days on set.
What was he like?
He was just... he was a bit diva-ish. Like, I remember him walking in one morning with rehearsals that showed him, like, oh, this is what we're going to do, Bruce, blah, 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 blah. And he looked around like this. He was like, no, we're not going to do that. And we're all like, okay. And then he was like, this is what we're going to do. And then he just kind of sat there. He was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out these handcuffs here. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to drag you down the corridor and then you're going to get shot. That's what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, right, okay, yeah, cool. We'll do that. And then we've literally had 2 weeks of putting the scene together. And now we've got 10 minutes to
change it.
To change. And that's
works with people like that as well. I wonder, the thing is, when Red 2 was being made and released, he was really established. He'd done a lot of action movies.
Yeah.
Was he a producer on the movie? Maybe.
I think he was at the time. Yeah, I've only name dropped his name now because I know he retired. So I'm going to get any backlash from. So
no, you won't get any backlash.
He was just.
Some people are difficult because they are wired in a certain way, and you know there are casualties along the way of creative processes. You know. Yeah, that was your experience of him. It's not to say
of course.
just
moment
on set.
It wasn't like he was a bit of a killer for me because from a young age, stand up late watching Die Hard with my dad.
Yeah,
and then to finally get the opportunity to actually work with him.
Oh, they say never meet your hero,
and then become seeing what he was really like.
Yeah,
and seeing how rude he was to people on the set and stuff like that, and then just thought,
that's difficult.
Yeah,
that's difficult.
It is difficult. Like you grow up looking at these like heroes of yours on the TV. And like you say, you meet him and then you're like, you're not really one of my heroes anymore now. Pierce Brosnan, when we worked with him.
Yeah.
Loveliest man in the world.
Yeah.
Like, so
it's got the Irish charm, man.
Yeah, for real, he has, yeah. My son was only about 18 months older at the time.
No. Okay.
And we was out in Serbia for 3 months. So he flew over with my mum to come and see me. And my mum come onto set. And Pierce saw that, I was talking to my little boy and stuff like that. So Pierce was like, oh, is that your mum? And is that your son? And I was like, yeah. He's like, tell him to come over. And obviously, like, my mum was absolutely ecstatic. She's standing there having a chat with, Pierce Brosnan. So he absolutely made her.
That's lovely.
And that's how nice he was. You know what I mean? It's like, when we finished the movie, the on-set photographer printed, because I had a scene where I was playing an assassin in it and I had to, like a hitman.
Yeah.
And I had to shoot him at a big, carnival.
Yeah.
And then a sniper takes me out and I had like a big mullet wig on and all that. And the photographer got a really cool shot of me being shot by Pierce. And Pierce signed it for me at the end of the movie, like a personal message on it. And like no one has ever done that. That's how nice he is, So you do meet some absolute gems.
What about Tom Cruise? What was he like?
Tom was actually cool. Like,
yeah,
I've seen him on both sides of the story. But then again, he's a producer, so they're not only under this pressure of like getting all their lines right and stuff like that. They've got their money in the movie as well, so their passion really does come out in it. But it was cool. It's like in between, we had some takes where we were playing like army guys doing sort of like call running and we were sort of all chanting these like army songs. And then they'd call cut. He'd go, right, last one back. And then he'd be racing us back to number ones and stuff like that. So he kept the energy up with the guys. Do you know what I mean? So
that's great. Yeah. And he's got a reputation for good and bad. But one thing that he's got a reputation for is doing his own stunts, feeling really physical. Physically demanding.
Yeah.
He throws himself out. He was like that on set.
Yeah. He did do, obviously, he has got stunt double that will line stuff up for him and test everything. But he is so adamant on doing everything himself.
Yeah.
And he's hats off to him. He does do a lot of himself. People say, I'll bet he don't do all that himself. Like, it's fully down to his stunt doubles and stuff like that. But they'll test everything, so fair play to them. He does have stunt doubles, and they do the odd bits and pieces, but generally on the whole, he likes to do everything himself. He's one of those actors that will put his foot down and be like, no, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I mean,
so make it work.
For somebody like that, he obviously finds it fun and exciting.
You've got to have that thrill for it and adrenaline, kick.
And you've got that. Did you always have that?
I think so. I think you knew from me growing up, the stupid shit I used to do. Do you remember, taking motorbikes over the forest, motorbikes flats, and do you remember the tractor in a tube that we had in the garden? And we used to, so that was a tractor in the tube. We used to do flips off of it.
Yeah, we used to jump in the summer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was a memory that kind of was.
That's just, some of the silly crap we used to do.
What's the biggest stunt you've done? The biggest, what's the most scary stunt?
I think the fire jobs are probably the ones that get your heart racing.
Yeah.
So for me, big stunts, then a lot of stuff like car accidents and stuff like that. On Now You See Me Too, actually, I had to do a big motorbike ramp jump and crash the bike, come off the bike in the air and then land on it, land on the tarmac. So it was a separate shot of me coming off the motorbike in midair and landing on crash mats and boxes. But during the rehearsals of that, the motorbike landed on my arm and fractured my arm during the rehearsals.
Wow. So you were taking off on a motorbike
off a ramp.
And you had to come off of the motorbike.
Yes, I had to separate, to separate myself off the motorcycle midair.
Yeah.
And then the bike would land on empty cardboard boxes. So I didn't damage it. And I would land on boxes and then crash mats on top on one side. So, on one of the rehearsals, the bike bottomed out and the boxes flipped and landed on my arm.
Oh.
And ended up fracturing my arm. So I had a fracture in my arm, and then on the day, I had to still do the stunt a few weeks later with a bad arm.
Did you do it?
Yeah. So, but then, because they wanted it to look like Woody was actually landing on the concrete as well.
Okay.
So what we had to do is we did the motorbike gag. That all went really well. I think I did 3 times on the night, and all went really well all 3 times. And then they wanted the landing onto the tarmac. So we had to move all the boxes to one side, and then I had to run off the ramp, dive, and land on the concrete.
Because they wanted a shot.
Because they wanted the impact of the landing. So that was a cool little gag to do.
And so that sort of gives me a little bit of an insight of how these stunts are created as well. So you've obviously got a plan and a rehearsal and a coordination beforehand. And then as you're filming it, things are just changing as and when. Like, no, we want to shot off this now. We want to shot off that now. We'd like you to do this now. Are they asking for you to position your head and your body in certain places?
Yeah, of course. And then a lot of the time you got to try and cover yourself a little bit as well, because the camera doesn't want to pick up your face, because obviously then you can see it's not the actor.
Yeah.
But I had a very, very good comparison to Woody. So sometimes they would actually shoot on me if it was far enough away, because they could get away with it. Because I'm really had a really similar face.
Really?
It's weird, but
and a build and stuff.
And the baldness and stuff like that as well. So So
you see my face popping up in movies every now and again.
Yeah.
Again, it's nice. So you said fire was always scary.
I think that's always what that gets adrenaline pumping the most, because when you're doing fire burns, although it's safe, and we wear, I say it's safe, we wear fire gel, and then we have layers of underwear that go fireproof, like no necks that goes underneath. And when you're doing a full fire burn, you have to wear a silicone mask just to protect your face. And all you've got is this little straw that comes out the mouthpiece here. So you're pretty much blind when you do a full fiver, and you're pretty much blind.
Really? And you've just got storm coming up when you're breathing.
Because you don't want to inhale the flames when you're on fire. So and then
how long could you be on fire for?
So it depends. Most fire burns, they'll be quite short because you after sort of like 20, 30 seconds. I mean, you can go longer, but you generally won't do them for much longer than sort of like.
Well, that's long enough, I think.
Yeah,
that's really very seconds.
Yeah, it seems like a life. When
I can imagine it.
Then you just drop to your knees and fall down, and then you'll have like literally. If you're doing a full fire burn, you might have 3 guys with extinguishers. Like basically, their role as fire safety for that stunt will be just you.
Wow.
And they're literally watching just you. They're in full fireproof gear themselves, and they've got an extinguisher. Their job is to, as soon as they're called cut, anyone that's on fire will drop to their knees and go to their front, and then they come over with extinguishers, and they're on you until you're out.
Oh, God, it's such risky business, isn't it?
The fire stuff is the one that really...
The highest risk. And for one fire burn, how many times would you need to film that and do that, would you say?
The coordinator will they know what it's like. They might say to the director, look, my boy's not going to do more than 3 times.
Nice. So the stunt coordinators are working really closely with the director and looking out for you guys. So that's great. And give me an idea of that world of stunts, because you're a stunt performer, right? So you said already you've got the coordinator, but what other key players are there in creating and making these stunts on a Hollywood movie?
On a core team, you have a fight coordinator.
Yeah.
Still help the coordinator come up with like all the fight moves and stuff. And then you have generally the core team. So you have like the stunt levels mixed in with other stunt performers that can do stunt rigging. Like everyone's got their role. Like I'm working with such a cool team at the moment. I'm working for Willis. So you remember from Gladiator days? Remember how Greg Norman was like the Gladiator champion?
Right. Yes. So they're in the stunt world as well.
Probably one of the best teams I've ever worked for.
If you think about the workings of a stunt, you've got the stunt riggers, you've got the coordinators, and then you've got the performers as well. And you need to have the certain skills for that stunt. So you've done wire work, bungee stuff. You spoke about some vehicles like motorbikes, cars, done horses.
Yeah, horses. Yeah. I don't know if you remember growing up, I used to ride.
Yeah. We used to go to the same riding school as well, yeah.
It's show jumping and it's that and the other.
I loved horses as well. I remember going to that riding school actually with you a couple of times at Suiston Road, right? But I was also dancing on a Saturday, and my dance teacher told me to stop horse riding because it was doing the opposite of what we were trying to do for our legs. Like when you're hugging the horse with your inner thighs, you're doing the opposite of like elongating your legs. So I remember my jazz teacher saying, you know, if you really want to dance, you should probably stop horse riding. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just choose dance. That's like what I was. When the job comes up, that you're like, yes.
Sometimes it characterizes people. There'll be certain stunt guys that are known for being so good on a horse. There'll be certain guys that are this guy is so talented at martial arts, fighter. This other guy is talented in cars and driving guy. And sometimes you get categorized into being specialized in more things and being used for the same thing all the time.
Do you have? Are you a bit of a jack of all trades, or do you have?
I'd say I'm not really like a specialist, but just one of them annoying people.
A staple, reliable stunt performer. A lot of strings to your bow. It's a good way to be. It's a good way to be. Yeah, the versatility is needed, and it means that you can be pulled from one job to the other and do what it takes. And specialism is good, of course, if you're going to be the horse guy or the fire guy or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of do it all. You mentioned the fractured arm. Any other injuries, key injuries that you've sort of picked up doing this job?
Luckily, that's the only sort of like major. You're always, you know, when you fall over doing stunts, you can't put your hands down. So just grit your teeth and take the stand. Do you know what I mean? Like you take a bullet hits, you've got to make them look nice. So you're always coming home with scrapes and bumps and injuries, muscular mainly.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I've worked for such good coordinators that, you know,
they keep you safe.
Safety, and especially the I'm working with at the moment, it's just the best I've ever worked with. They're all very talented and they're just all so good at individually at everything they do. Our riggers, our fight guys, you know, coordinators. She's got amazing people around them. A few people, like actually, it was Mark Monter's best friend, Dave Fisher, who works with his team as well. So I've known him from kid. Yeah. Mark. So
they must look at you so proud as well, seeing you as a little nipper and like what you're doing now. You know, how do you keep in shape now? I mean, you know, we're the same age. We're 40. Like I've let myself go a bit. You're still in prime premium shape, and you have to be because of your job. But how do you stay in shape outside of work?
I'm working with Warner Brothers at the moment on a project, and they've got an amazing gym there.
Nice.
I leave at about 5:30 every morning, and I normally get to work an hour early every day.
Yeah.
So I'll hit the gym for an hour in the morning before work.
Nice.
And some of us will nip in there like we've got a little break or lunch hour or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll nip in there at lunchtime and do some more. And we've got our own gym. We've got our own gym equipment as well. But because when we was at the last studio, we had our own gym set up. So we all chip in and bought like basically a whole gym's worth of equipment. And we keep it in a container and it just travels from job to job with us.
Nice.
But we're lucky enough at the moment on this one that it's all there at the studios.
And it's nice to be in the UK because it means that you can be at home with your family and then you're sort of commuting. Yeah. And where in the world have you sort of been and taken your...
Well, that's on the Little Mermaid.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's the most recent Little Mermaid.
We went to Italy, Sardinia. First time you've been for like about 6 weeks. I think we ended up being there 10 weeks because it's when you wasn't allowed to travel to Italy because of COVID. The mayor of Sardinia gave us special permission to go there and film. So we had our own plane that just took us. We didn't mix with other people. And yeah, we went there. We ended up having a couple of COVID cases in the crew. So they just made us a 10-day break in between filming.
So you were just stuck for 10 days doing nothing?
10 days up pay, in Sardinia.
Which sounds lovely, but when you've got a family at home, you think, I could be at home with my family.
On a normal situation on a film set, if I'm working in Spain for 6 months, every school holiday, they just come over.
Nice. Your sort of 10-year floor laying trade job before you sort of really took on stunt work and it started growing for you and snowballing. Has that sort of passed over to your life now? Do you see some kind of influence in being a tradie, being on the tools, sort of still involved in your life?
Massively. And like with the property developing side things. Yeah.
So I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but I know that you've just finished very recently quite a huge project. Tell me about that project.
So I was 21 years old when I bought my first place in Wolf Mary.
Yeah, wow.
By 27, I had 3 properties. We had a child, the rest of the house, and then we developed the house. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up getting a project with one of my friends in Romford as well. Yeah, so I was always, and again, I keep mentioning his name, but Mark had that big stamp on probably me wanting to do that because seeing how much money he made out of doing property developing on the side of himself doing stunts. So I always had that drive to do property developing as well. I bought a 2-bedroom cottage in Ongar and we developed it to, it was 4,500 square foot.
Wow. It was incredible.
And it ended up 6-bedroom cinema room.
Pretty much your football pitch out the back. I was going to say, I mean, you were sort of doing that. Did you try to manage as much of that project yourself?
I project managed the whole thing.
Wow.
I was laying bricks at weekends.
Wow.
Floor joists, getting stills craned in on weekends. Yeah, I was just basing my whole weekends around projects or my Saturdays because obviously mixing being a dad as well.
Absolutely. Being a stunt performer and trying to earn your money and plus you're being a dad, trying to hopefully be social and see your mates as well and a husband and then manage this huge build, which took how many years did it take you?
7 years.
7 years of your life. Wow.
COVID had a massive factor in the stressfulness of that project. Everything I was earning, I put all my eggs in one basket in that project. So I sold any other things that we had. Yeah. And it all went into that. That was a make or break situation and it really did nearly break me. During COVID, the film industry was shut down.
Yeah.
And like all the lucky people that worked in offices and normal jobs, there was no help for anyone in the film industry.
No.
So,
well, the entertainment industry as a whole.
The whole was shut down and I was halfway through a house build.
So there's no furlough, there's no insurance that covers it because it's sort of a force majeure. And if you were a performer or anywhere involved in the entertainment industry, your work had basically just stopped and shut down. Yeah. So that had a massive, there was no income for you.
Well, there was no income, from any film industry. And at that point, I kind of put all my savings and everything into that project. So stressful financing it to finish it, but I come out the other side of it, shining in the end. I had no income from the film industry. I'm halfway through a house build and I had to get finished. So I straight back on the tools doing building work and general, doing floor laying, anything really. I was doing floor laying. I was working with some of my mates.
It's a pretty incredible career, really. I mean, you've had an amazing career as a stunt performer, which is still going, and we're going to talk about what you're doing now and what's next for you. But as a tradie, anyone who's got a trade in their back pocket, one or multiple, is something that you can always fall back on. It's so incredible, yeah.
No matter what you doing, like to have some form of knowledge of a trade, because just generally doing stuff at home. But if you've got a trade or knowledge of a trade, then you can go anywhere in the world and use that.
Yeah, for something like COVID to happen, those tradespeople were still able to go and work, whether it was on site, whether it was in people's homes. They were key workers because they were able to do it. What COVID also did was really increase the price of all materials. So as well as no income coming in, the price of your build probably went up 20-30% for some of the materials. So that had a detrimental effect as well. Yeah, but you got through it. The house is finished now. Good for you, mate. Honestly, seeing that house come together, you documented it all on Instagram.
I mean, some people probably hated me for it. Some people, like yourself, probably appreciated it.
Massive appreciation.
For me, doing all my posts that I do on my Instagram is kind of just show the journey of stuff I'm doing. It's not to be like, oh, look at me, this is what I've got, or this is what I'm doing.
No.
I'm super proud of it, and I just want to show people.
Absolutely, and good for you. And anyone that thinks that you're putting stuff out there because you've got an ego, it's not about that. You've achieved something massive, and we saw that through social media being documented step by step. So we were able to kind of go on that journey with you. It's amazing. Someone's probably going through something very similar, and seeing your posts can help them as well. Yeah, they were very inspiring, and seeing it come to life.
Show people how to do stuff. It's so funny. I just did some editing. Slats from edits.
Yeah.
I did literally a slowed down version and then set up the stages of it all. I think it's got over 3 million hits on TikTok.
See?
Of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it was just me doing a video of just doing some fencing.
It was amazing. And yeah, I mean, look, people should go on and watch what you've done because you've achieved so much. 7 years of your life, no mean feat really. So really, again, we can kind of draw back and thank Mark for the property development side as well as the stunt work as well. I mean, it's amazing how much positive influence he's had on your life. It's incredible. What are you doing now? So as you stand now as a very successful 40-year-old with a family, with a stunt career, do you see yourself continuing to stunt perform? Is there anything in the pipeline that you kind of want to ebb and flow and change?
And I will perform as long as I actively can, as long as it allows me to. Do you know what I mean? I do a lot of the rigging side of things now, which I love as well. Again, I've got such a good team around me at the moment.
So you see yourself continuing to perform, and you're rigging, you want to do more rigging?
More stunt rigging. As I'll be getting older, I'll probably fall more into the rigging side of things. And like everybody, the progression is that you've got to be versatile. If you stay in that industry, you need to be versatile and fall into other things.
Yeah. Do you see yourself coordinating?
Love to, to progress into that. But I think I'm probably about 10 years off of getting into that.
That's good. That's realistic. Yeah. We're less at this age like rubber bands where we're like bouncing off of the floor. So it does take its toll. So rigging is a nice segue into that. And then maybe in 10 years' time, we'll see you coordinating.
Say to people, maybe just don't ever give up on your dreams. Like if you want to try something completely different to what you do, just go for it. Because you just never know what's around the corner, do you know?
I love that. I love that you were hardworking and dedicated and decided to train and upskill yourself in your spare time, knowing that you had to earn money and you were doing that in your spare time. And gradually this passion of stunts and sort of throwing yourself around became a career for you. So it's really nice to hear that it worked for you. And it's nice for anyone out there, whether you're on the tools or whether you're in another job that's not really fulfilling you, if you've got something else.
Desire to do whatever you want to do. Like you can have an office job and think like, I'm bored of this. I want to go do something else, or I want to be a black cab driver or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, like even black cab drivers, you have to set your own time to the side to do the knowledge.
Absolutely.
If you've got goals in life, just go for it.
Go for them. Life's too short.
You've got, one life. Just live it.
I love that. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. You're an absolute inspiration. It's been so nice to see you succeed in what you're doing. And I'm really excited to see what's next for you as well. So cheers, mate. You've got one life. Just live it. Love that, Daniel Dow.
When the world can feel so complex and so chaotic at times, it's really important to hear those messages. You just never know what's around the corner, so we just need to make the most of each moment. And Daniel is a true example of that. He's a go-getter, my old pal from Chinkford from way back when, and I couldn't be prouder of what he's achieved. It was so nice to catch up with Daniel, and the thing that has come up in other episodes, and was so prominent in this one, was that we are only as good as the people around us. Mark Mottram moved in next door to Daniel when we were kids, and let's face it, Mark changed Daniel's life for the better. He was a positive role model, a generous mentor, and a guide through life, and he gave Daniel his first opportunities to succeed in his career as a stunt performer. Now, that's not to take away any of Daniel's hard work and years of dedication to his craft. He has had to work hard and strive to better himself. Yes, Mark did lay the pathway, but Daniel had to walk it, and he had to stay on track. I just want to give a big shout out to Mark, who I have my own great memories of growing up, and it was just really nice to hear Daniel pay so much respect and gratitude to Mark. And he also said he was working with an incredible team right now. I'm going to say it again, guys. You are only as good as the people around you. Surround yourself with the right people and you can achieve anything. One thing that I need to reflect on here is a lifetime value of being a tradesperson. Big up to all the tradies out there. I'm not a tradie myself. I come from a family of tradies. Lots of my friends are tradies. Learning a trade at any stage of life is invaluable, and it served Daniel throughout his life and still does to this day. He can and has fallen back on his trade. The skills are transferable in other areas of his life, and he's built on that knowledge through his property development ventures. Daniel spends most of his days on Hollywood movie sets with the likes of Bruce Willis, Tom Cruise, Benedict Cumberbatch, Pierce Brosnan, to name but a few. But at the end of the day, he knows he can always fall back on his trade. I can't wait to see what projects Daniel's on next, and if you're interested in his ventures, the links to his socials are in the show notes. If you liked this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe or follow button. If you haven't already, you can follow us on all of our socials at U2BDC to keep up with all the latest news. And also, why not recommend us to a friend? In a world where there are thousands of podcasts, a personal recommendation or suggestion can go a long way. I know I love it when my friends suggest a podcast to listen to. That means they listened and they thought, Dean would like this. If you loved this, think of a friend and spread the word. I'll see you very soon on another episode. Until then, stay safe, stay fabulous, keep striving. Much love.